Today, there's so much in our lives that influences us, our environment, the people around us. Sometimes we don't even know what's influencing us, and that's what we're here to talk about. Welcome to the Influence Today podcast with Chet Tart and Terry Lyle.
Welcome to another edition of Influence Today. We're broadcasting from Venture X, Palm Beach Gardens City Center on PJ Boulevard. And we're glad we're here. It's a beautiful facility. You should try it sometime. And my partner is Terry Lyles. Welcome back, Terry.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And if you do listen to us and like us, please hit like. We need that. Like, and share. Share it with people. And today it was with 5 or 6 people, and they were sharing the whole thing. So
awesome.
It's really good. And Terry, you have a special guest that only you know. I don't know today.
You don't know him. We do this all the time. So we have one. Another day it'll be yours.
Right.
Guest today is Doug Herbert. He's been a longtime friend and colleague, and we met back in 2007. And he was the owner at the time of a race team. And in the NHRA series where they do 0 to 300 miles an hour in less than a quarter of a mile, or right at a quarter of a mile. I think Doug was the second person on the planet to break the 300 mile an hour speed record at a quarter mile. So, I mean, he's, one of those kind of guys. So we met. He's got a very powerful story in what he's doing. So I want to introduce him and we'll get started. So, Doug, are you there?
Terry, I'm here. Good
Great.
to talk to you, bud.
Yeah, you too, man. It's always good to talk to you. We've had some great times and some tough times, through the years with things that went on, because racing is up and down, as everyone knows if they are involved in racing. But you just have such a powerful story. And I got to say this to you, man. I tell your story literally every time I'm on stage in corporate America. So just as an FYI, it impacted my life that much that I tell your story that often. So you may or may not know that, but that's how powerful it is. So I wanted to be able to bring you on the show that you can share, how we met. I mean, we met because of, consulting in the racing world, but go ahead and share what happened, going into the 2008 season.
Yeah, so, you and I were working together and kind of trying to, I don't know, what do you call it, sports psychology, I guess.
That's it. You can call it that.
Trying to get my head into racing and winning. I mean, that's really what racing is all about. So we were on racing and winning at the end of the 2007 season, going into the 2008 season, and then going, we went to the preseason testing in Phoenix for the 2008 season, and got that phone call that morning. My 2 teenage boys were killed in a car crash.
Yep.
And,
wow, we were standing there on the racetrack.
That changed everything.
Yeah, we were standing right next to each other on the racetrack.
You were with him.
I was standing right next to Doug. Doug was getting ready to change clothes, get in the car, and run tests when he took the phone call. And I'll never forget the look on your face and your body, man. I can still feel it. And we left there, went back to the airport, and we had just gotten there like an hour before, and flew back to Charlotte and went through the rest of the procedures to take care of what he had to take care of.
Wow.
So, very
that was
tough day.
Obviously that was a life-changing time.
Yes, it was.
Life-changing day, and it makes you all of a sudden realize, the big shot, right? We got the airplane, and we got the big house, and you got the fancy cars and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden you realize what's really important here.
Right.
Yep.
And it kind of changes perspective around, and
it does.
And since that day, we went ahead and finished out that year. We won. We won a race. We did okay, that year. Yeah. I think that was just.
And remember, a part of the story that I tell that's so impactful. I have a photo of you. I should probably send it to you because you probably don't even know it exists. But it's a photo of you sitting in the car, and it's a close up, and it has the shot of you sitting in the car with your helmet on, and in that season we dedicated the 2008 season, and we called it For My Boys, and the dedication was to win one race that year to dedicate to John and James. And I share that, and it was painted on his helmet, For My Boys, and he had the memorial picture on the side of his helmet. It was very powerful, and winning that one race was everything.
It was big, that was really big, and that year we actually ended up, the focus and concentration that that you helped me kind of develop
Mm-hmm.
really led to me being the number one in the reaction time for the year. I had the top reaction time average for the season.
Yep.
That was good, and that's right down to driver performance, and that's what we were focusing on. And I really enjoyed getting in the car. Even everybody says, "Oh my gosh, that you got to be going crazy, right? Getting in that car going 300 miles an hour." And it actually wasn't for me. When I put my helmet on, I got to shut everything out from the world, and I got to focus on driving the car and actually being a machine, in that car. And that was actually a good bit of therapy going, getting through that year was focusing on driving the car and putting your helmet on and just thinking about what the job is that you have to do.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. We focused on that and going through that year, really immediately after the car crash, I didn't know at the time that car crashes was the number one cause of death for teenagers. And in fact, in 2008, more teenagers were dying in car crashes than the next 4 things put together.
Wow.
So I didn't know that. Here I am, a car guy, right? I race these cars 300 miles an hour. And so I decided, you know what? I want to teach my boys' friends about being safer drivers, because I don't want any of their parents to get this phone call that I got that their kids aren't coming home from a car crash. So, I got some of my friends together that are law enforcement and racing drivers and so forth, and we got with the Highway Patrol and the DOT to figure out what the causes of these car crashes were, and then we developed some exercises to actually teach teenagers about being more defensive drivers. And so in 2008, I taught about 50 of John and James' friends over here at the Z-Max Dragway. The Smith family's been very supportive of us, and they let us use the racetrack for doing these defensive driving program. And we're teaching teenagers about crash avoidance and a slalom exercise, a drop wheel, basically where a wheel goes off the shoulder of the road, and that's the number one cause of fatal crashes, because everybody overcorrects and you bring it across, the car rolls or goes into oncoming traffic. Distractions are obviously a big thing.
Yep.
Panic stopping,
phones.
ABS braking. And then we do a skid exercise, teaching teenagers how to avoid a skid or how to recover from a skid if they actually did encounter that.
Sure.
So basically all the things that you come across on the road every day. And, we're probably better drivers. I mean, we're a lower insurance risk for sure than teenagers. And the main reason why I think is because they don't have that experience and knowledge. And that's what I decided I want to do that for my boys' friends. So like I said, in 2008, we trained 50 of their friends. And my phone started ringing, and parents that brought their kids and had, or other parents that had heard about what we had done said, "Hey, when are you going to have another one of those classes?" So then I had another one, and then we had another one, and it's kind of snowballed. I actually turned it into a 501c3 charity. And at this point, we've actually trained over 40,000 teenagers from almost every state all around the country. And it's just been incredible. And we recently, a couple of years ago, started working with University of North Carolina, and they actually analyze our data. And one of the neatest things that we found out over a 5-year period, analyzing the data, the charity is called Brakes, and the website is putonthebrakes.org.
Yes.
Any parent should definitely take interest in going there, looking at what we're doing. The program's free. It's a charity. There's no cost to bring your kids to it. It's all,
and
it's a program. It's about love, right? It's about love. We don't want our kids in a car crash.
It's a great program. I mean, I was on your website just before the show and just, reviewing what you're doing and how you're doing it. And, I remember those early meetings in your race shop there, in North Carolina, and we sat down and talked about, what you could do to help these kids. And I remember coming up, even you came up with the acronym BRAKES, be responsible, keep everyone safe. And just the early beginning stages of that all the way back in 2008, and how many lives that your two boys have impacted, even in their death, they're saving lives. And it's such a powerful story. And our show here is called Influence Today.
Right.
And all the people that are influenced by our lives, your sons are influencing thousands and thousands of people's lives, including when I speak about on stage, using your story as life purpose alignment, and how if you can align anything, you can flip bad stress to good stress by just knowing how to do it. It's very powerful, man. Hats off to you.
Well, thank you. And that's exactly what my plan was. And actually, I didn't come up with the acronym. John and James Friends their classmates came up with that acronym, Be Responsible and Keep Everyone Safe.
That's
So
awesome.
that makes it even more
That's
impactful
even better.
because it was the kids that actually came up with that. So it's been a really neat journey, and I still love racing. I haven't been racing that much. I haven't even raced, drag race for the last, 4 years, I guess.
Right.
I still got that land speed car. I set out,
Sure.
Another project I set out with my dad was to go set the world land speed record in a wheel-driven car. And so we've been working on that car, and it was a project with my dad. My dad ended up passing away in 2009.
Who was also a race car driver.
Got slowed down.
Yeah, Doug's dad was a race car driver for 50s and 60s, and at the Bonneville Flats, where they do the land speed, records.
Right.
Yeah, so Doug grew up in racing. And Doug, I thought about, I have a new book out too. I need to get you one because there's a quote in there that you gave me before, and it's so powerful just what you were able to say about what happened. But it's called Performance Under Pressure, and I want to be able to parlay that with some of the things we're doing, like the school shootings that are going on. We have a free giveaway that we use called Caught in the Crossfire, and we give those away to people across the country if their child or family is involved in that kind of thing. So there's a lot of things to do that we can promote health and safety and wellness. And, I have a biometric system that we're using actually with IndyCar. And I'd love to talk to you more about that, off time, about how we monitor vitals while people are driving and what that could be biometrically. So I just love what you're doing. And, the brakes program is so powerful. Tell us about some of the things that's happening now, what you're planning on doing next. Not that you're not doing enough, but with brakes.
Well, we've been going to new cities. We've been adding new cities. We've got some corporate sponsorship from Kia Motors America is one of our big sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, General Motors is a big sponsor.
Yep, I saw that.
We've got I'm trying to think of who some of the my friend Terry Vance. I don't know if anybody's a motorcycle fan. They would know Vance and Hines from motorcycle racing.
Sure.
And Terry Vance is a friend of mine, and he brought his kids. He's got twin boys that are driving age. They came through a couple years ago, and after the class, he told me, "Doug, I want to do something big." He goes, "Man, this has changed my kids' lives." He actually brought him once, and then about 6 months later, he brought him again.
Wow.
And he contacted me and told me how it changed their life, and it actually his one son, what he learned at brakes actually helped save his life. And he was just so impacted by it. He said, "Doug, I want to do something really big for brakes." And we started talking, and he's telling me, what are you guys doing? What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish, and so forth. And I kind of, was explaining to him what our plan was to grow and expand and train more kids, and that was my plan.
So, Doug,
he said, "Well, I'm going to help you." I said, "Yeah, really? What do you want to do?" He said, "I'm going to make a donation." I go, "Well, that's awesome. Thank you. What, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it." He said, "I'm going to donate $1 million." And I go,
"Wow,
what?
Yeah, that's powerful.
You're kidding me?" And Terry, he was so impressed by it that he donated $1 million to the charity, and that has made it enabled us to go add some new cities, go to new places. It's just been incredible. And
so if people want to donate,
supportive.
if people want to donate, they do that. They can do that right on your website, as I saw at putonthebrakes.org, correct?
Sure, absolutely. They could go on there, learn about what we're doing.
Yep.
If they've got a teenager, bring your teenager to the class. The statistics show they're going to be 64% less likely to be involved in a car crash. That's UNC. I kind of got sidetracked there, but that was our study over a 5-year period. The University of North Carolina has determined that these students coming through our program and just going through this half-day program are 64% less likely to be involved in a car crash. So
that's got to help
really
with
something.
Insurance rates. I'm assuming that's got to help with everything.
Oh, insurance companies will give a discount once you come through. So there's just all kinds of benefits.
Awesome.
It's just really, really neat.
Yeah, man. No, that's all. And you're still in the Charlotte area, so I know you've been there for a long time. So that's awesome. Are you coming to?
We do a lot of classes over here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway at ZMAX Dragway, but we also do it out in Pomona at the LA County Fairgrounds. We've got classes coming up in Phoenix. We've got classes coming up in San Diego. We just did classes last weekend in Nashville and Raleigh, North Carolina. So we really get around a lot too.
Are you coming to South Florida anytime with one of these programs? We'd love to help promote you in this area.
We come to Orlando. We do Orlando pretty regularly. We work with the Mannheim Auto Auction Center over there.
Okay.
We are working on coming to South Florida, but we haven't managed to get it all straightened out yet. So maybe next year we'll.
If we can help you with that, let us know. That'd be awesome. Any questions?
That'd be great.
Chet?
Doug, what's the difference between this and driver's ed?
That's the first thing I tell people. Number one thing I can tell you is we're not driver's ed. The things we are teaching are not basic driving skills. We're not teaching how to parallel park. We're not teaching how to start the car, put it into gear. So we require that teenagers coming to the classes actually have at least 30 hours up behind the wheel, so they understand basic, at least car driving. Mm-hmm. And then what we're teaching them is really advanced. It's life-saving skills. It's crash avoidance skills. That's the things that we're teaching them behind the wheel of the car, not driver's ed.
And I've ridden with Doug,
so it's more advanced.
On a track open area, and it's interesting. All these race car drivers I've worked with, you get them off the street and onto a track of some type, and they obviously know how to handle a car. So there's no one better to train kids than people who drive a race car for a living. And I think that's why it's so powerful and the message resonates, is because you're one of those people that could do that because of your background and your history.
Well, but Terry, it's not just the racing drivers. Some of our best instructors now are highway patrol and EVOC training.
Okay.
We've got some excellent instructors that that teach EVOC. Basically, they teach Secret Service guys that drive the president around defensive driving, and then on the weekend they come out and help us teach seniors. So it's
awesome.
Just really, really neat. And the teenagers are in the car and they're talking to the instructor. Oh, what do you do? I'm a highway patrolman. Oh man, I thought those guys were all mean. No, dude, we got wife, kids. I go home and I'm the same as you. I cook dinner at night and all that. That's my job during the day. I'm not out to look for you and try and give you a ticket. Right. That's really not my job. It's just to keep the road safe.
Right. Well, and that's it with the health and safety piece. And that's what I'm passionate about from the biometric side, because there's so much that goes on that, if you just don't know what's happening. But the driving world, in every state is crazy. So, I think it's amazing what you're able to have done over this decade. And, like you said, 45,000, I think you said, teens and parents have gone through this thing. It's been amazing. So if you just, are tuning in again, just to recap, Doug Herbert's our guest today on Influence Today. Chet Tart's here with me, Terry Lyles. And you can reach Doug and the organization. That is a 501c3. It's putonthebrakes.org. And I highly recommend you go there, you check it out, and get your students that are driving age involved in this program wherever it is in the country. It's well worth it. So
why wouldn't you want your teenager to take a course like this?
Exactly.
Right. There's a million reasons why to do it, and really not very many reasons why not to do it.
Absolutely. And I think that's why I wanted to have you on it too, is because it's such a great story, and I know one of the videos you have on your site talks about, you just didn't start doing this just to self-promote and get out there and go do something. It was driven out of crisis. And that's such a powerful message, that when something drives you that deeply in your psyche and in your emotions, to go out and make change, that's a great story for anybody. So, Doug, I really appreciate your time.
The way that we start the class is interesting. We used to start it differently, and then after working with the university and trying to figure out the most effective way to do this, we actually start the class. Nobody gets up, nobody says anything. We start a video. We play a NBC nightly news story that they did on the charity on brakes, and that's the way the class starts, is playing this video. So it's only about a 2-minute video, but all of a sudden, by the time the video is done, the class is very quiet, and every single person at the class knows why they're there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you see the reality of what goes on out there in the world. So, yeah, really appreciate your time, Doug. So it's Doug Herbert, founder, brain trust of this great program called Brakes, and it's putonthebrakes.org. Chet, it's been great to be with you.
Wow.
People can find us on our sites here, Influence Today, terrylyles.com. I'm going to send you a book, Doug, and just really appreciate how your life has impacted my life as well. So,
Well, I appreciate it. Cool. It's been a pleasure to be on the show. It's been a pleasure to know you for all these years, and can't wait to get caught up with you again soon.
We'll do it.
Doug, this has been an eye-opener, and I just hope it gets across all the United States so that we are defensive drivers.
Yeah.
And even I think what you need to do is start teaching people over 60 how to drive next.
Remember,
South Florida, that's a problem.
Well,
right?
that's where we live. Yeah, you need to up your age limit a little bit down here to help us out, bro. So.
That's right.
Well, at the end of the day, really, teenagers, they don't just crash cars. They involve other people when they crash.
Of
so
course.
It doesn't matter whether you have a teenager or not. You're affected by teenage driving.
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
it's something that's very
Everybody's
important, that's
impacted.
for sure.
Thanks, Doug. Appreciate
you,
your
Doug.
time, man.
Thank you.
Guys, take care.
Okay.
You've been listening to Influence Today with Chet Tart, Terry Lyles. And if you like it, please hit like. And if you want to share it, please share it with a lot of people. And Doug will be sharing it also. We're broadcasting live from Venture X, Palm Beach Gardens on PGA Boulevard. See you next week.